Hi, everybody. Welcome to yet another interesting storytelling session with Caterpillar Book Club. It's been over 2 weeks since we started, and we've received an overwhelming amount of response over these 2 weeks, and we couldn't be more excited. I hope you guys continue to enjoy the stories that are being brought to you by our book club. Now, my name is Apurva, and over the last few weeks, I know that you guys have heard a lot of stories and biographies of authors and about the history behind a book being written, sort of stuff. So, I thought of bringing a little different form of content to you guys, which would still be interesting, but a little different from a book. So, what I'm going to read to you today is a letter. So, the letter I'm going to read to you today is written by one of my favorite Arab American poets. Her name is Naomi Shihab Nye. Now, to give you a context about this letter, so this letter was written by Naomi right after the 9/11 incident in New York. And the letter is titled To Any Would-Be Terrorists by Naomi Shihab Nye. I'm sorry I have to call you that, but I don't know how else to get your attention. I hate that word. Do you know how hard some of us have worked to get rid of that word? To deny its instant connection to the Middle East? And now look what extra work we have. Not only did your colleagues kill thousands of innocent international people in those buildings and scar their families forever, but they also wounded a huge community of people in the Middle East, in the United States, and all over the world. If that's what you set out to do, please know that the mission was a terrible success and you can stop now. Because I feel a little closer to you than many Americans would possibly feel, or even want to feel, I insist that you listen to me. Sit down and listen. I know what kinds of food you like. I would feed them to you if you were right here because it is very important that you listen. I am humble in my country's pain, and I am furious. My Palestinian father became a refugee in the 1948. He came to the United States as a college student. He's 74 years old now and still homesick. He has planted fig trees. He has invited all the Ethiopians in his neighborhood to fill their little paper sacks with his figs. He has written columns and stories saying the Arabs are not terrorists. He has worked all his life to defy that word. Arabs are businessmen and students and kind neighbors, he would say. There is no one like him, and there are thousands like him. Gentle Arab daddies who make everyone laugh around the dinner table, who have a hard time with headlines, who stand outside in evenings with their hands in their pockets staring towards the horizon. I'm sorry if you did not have a father like that. I wish everyone could have a father like that. My hardworking American mother has spent 50 years trying to convince her fellow teachers and choir mates not to believe stereotypes about the Middle East. She always told them there is a much larger story. If you knew the story, you would not jump to conclusions from what you've seen in the news. But now look at the news. What a mess has been made. Sometimes I wish everyone could have parents from different countries or ethnic groups so they would be forced to cross boundaries, to believe in mixtures every day of life. The Palestinian grocer in my Mexican American neighborhood paints pictures of the Palestinian flag on his empty cartons. He paints trees and rivers. He gives his paintings away. He says, "Don't insult me," when I try to pay him for a lemonade. Arabs have always been famous for their generosity. Remember, my half Arab brother with an Arabic name looks more like an Arab than many full blooded Arabs do. And he has to fly every week. My Palestinian cousin in Texas have beautiful brown little boys. Many of them haven't gone to school yet, and now they have this heavy word to carry in their backpacks along with the weight of their papers and books. I repeat, the mission was a terrible success. But it was also a complete, total tragedy, and I want you to think about a few things. 1. Many people, thousands of people, perhaps even millions of people in the United States are very aware of the long unfairness of our country's policies regarding Israel and Palestine. We talk about this all the time. It exhausts us and we keep talking. We write letters to newspapers, to politicians, to each others. We speak out in public even when it is uncomfortable to do so, because that is our responsibility. Many of these people aren't even Arabs. Many happen to be Jews who are equally troubled by the inequality. I promise you this is true because I am an Arab American. People always express their views to me, and I'm amazed how many understand the intricate situation and have strong, caring feelings for Arabs and Palestinians, even when they do not have to. Think of them, please. All those people who have been standing up for Arabs when they didn't have to. 2. Have you noticed how many roads there are? Sure you have. You must check out maps and highways and small alternate routes just like anyone else. There is no way everyone on earth could travel on the same road or believe in exactly the same religion. It would be too crowded. It would be dumb. I don't believe you want us all to be Muslims. My Palestinian grandmother lived to be 106 years old and did not read or write, but even she was much smarter than that. The only place she ever went beyond Palestine and Jordan was to Mecca by bus. And she was very proud to be called a Haji and to wear white clothes afterwards. She worked very hard to get the stains out of everybody's dresses, scrubbing them with a stone. I think she would consider the recent tragedies a terrible stain on her religion and her whole part of the world. She would weep. She was scared of airplanes anyways. She wanted people to worship God in whatever ways they felt comfortable. Just worship. Just remember God in every single day and doing. It didn't matter what they called it. When people asked her how she felt about the peace talks that were happening right before she died, she puffed up like a proud little bird and said in Arabic, "I never lost my peace inside." To her, Islam was a welcoming religion. After her home in Jerusalem was stolen from her, she lived in a small village that contained a Christian shrine. She felt very tender towards the people who would visit it. A Jewish professor tracked me down a few years ago in Jerusalem to tell me she changed his life after he went to her village to do an oral history project on Arabs. "Don't think she only mattered to you," he said. "She gave me a whole different reality to imagine. Yet it was amazing how close we became. Arabs could never be just a project after that. 3. Many Americans did not want to kill any more innocent people anywhere in the world. We're extremely worried about military actions killing innocent people. We didn't like this in Iraq. We never liked it anywhere. We would like no more violence from us as well as from you. Hear us. We would like to stop the terrifying wheel of violence. Just stop it. Right on the road and find something more creative to do. Fix these huge problems we have. Violence is not creative. It is stupid and scary, and many of us hate all those terrible movies and TV shows made in our country that try to pretend otherwise. Don't watch them. Everyone should stop watching them. An appetite for explosive sounds and toppling buildings is not a healthy thing for anyone in any country. The USA should apologize to the whole world for sending this trash out into the air and for paying people to make it. But here's something you may not know. One of the best-selling books of poetry in the United States in recent years is the Coleman Barks translation of Rumi, a mystical Sufi poet of the 13th century. And Sufism is Islam. And doesn't that make you glad? 4. We will all die soon enough. Why not take the short time we have on this delicate planet and figure out some really interesting things we might do together? I promise you, God would be happier. So many people are always trying to speak for God. I know it is a very dangerous thing to do. I tried my whole life not to do it. But this one time is an exception. Because there are so many people crying and scared and confused and complicated and exhausted right now. It is as if we all had a giant simultaneous breakdown. I beg you, as your distant Arab cousin, as your American neighbor, listen to me. Our hearts are broken, as yours may also feel broken in some ways we can't understand unless you tell us in words. Killing people won't tell us. We can't read that message. Find another way to live. Don't expect others to be like you. Read Rumi. Read Arabic poetry. Poetry humanizes us in ways that news or even religion has a harder time doing. A great Arab scholar, Dr. Salma Jayusi, said, "If we read one another, we won't kill one another." Read American poetry. Plant mint. Find a friend who is different from you. You can't believe how much you may have in common. Love them. Let them love you. Surprise people in gentle ways as friends do. The rest of us will try harder too. Make our families proud. With love, Naomi Shihab Nye.